The worst mistake you can make with a manipulator is letting them know you have noticed them too early. The moment you confront them, they adjust. The moment you warn them, they prepare. The moment you react emotionally, they learn exactly where to press next. That is why the most dangerous response is not anger. It is silence while you keep watching. Most people think the best way to deal with a manipulator is to expose them immediately, to call them out, to prove you can see what they are doing. But this usually gives them exactly what they need. It gives them time to deny, twist the story, play innocent, and make you look like the unstable one. The smarter move is to let them believe they are still unseen for a while. Not because you are weak, and not because you are afraid of conflict, but because people reveal more when they think no one is studying them. A manipulator who feels safe becomes careless. They repeat patterns. They expose motives. They show you who they are before they realize you have already understood the game. This is the first rule. Never rush to prove that you know. A manipulative person often depends on your emotional need to defend yourself. They want you to interrupt, accuse, over-explain, and lose control. Because once you become reactive, the focus shifts away from what they did and onto how you behaved. Silence denies them that escape. It keeps the spotlight on their pattern instead of your reaction. The second rule is to watch what they do after they think they have controlled the situation. This is where most people miss the truth. A manipulator does not reveal themselves only in conflict. They reveal themselves after they believe they have won. Watch how they behave when you go quiet. Watch whether they become calmer, more respectful, more aggressive, or more desperate for a reaction. Their next move usually tells you more than their original words ever could. The third rule is to stop giving them emotional material. Manipulators do not always need facts to control a situation. Sometimes they only need your frustration, your fear, your guilt, your anger, or your need to be understood. Once they know what affects you, they can keep returning to that place whenever they want control. So you become harder to read. You answer less. You explain less. You let them speak more than you do, because the person who keeps talking usually reveals the most. The fourth rule is to never correct their mask too early. If someone is pretending to be innocent, misunderstood, generous, loyal, or concerned, do not rush to tear the mask off in front of them. Let the mask stay on while you study the behavior beneath it. A mask becomes useful when you stop arguing with it and start noticing where it slips. The small contradictions, the repeated excuses, the sudden changes in tone, the way they treat people who cannot benefit them. That is where the truth usually leaks out. The fifth rule is to separate words from patterns. A manipulator can explain anything once. They can apologize once. They can make one situation sound like a misunderstanding. But patterns are harder to hide, because patterns repeat when the person thinks you have moved on. Do not get trapped inside one argument. Step back and watch the larger rhythm. What do they always do when they want control? What story do they always create when they are caught? Who always becomes the problem when they do not get their way? The sixth rule is to protect your timing. Timing matters more than most people think. If you speak too early, they adjust. If you expose too loudly, they prepare a defense. If you attack directly, they may turn the room against you before the truth has enough weight. So you wait until their pattern is clear enough that you do not need to convince everyone. You let their own behavior build the evidence that your words could never create alone. The seventh rule is to strike only when your silence has made them comfortable. This does not always mean revenge, confrontation, or public exposure. Sometimes striking simply means withdrawing access, cutting off information, changing your behavior, refusing the emotional role they assign to you, or letting their pattern become visible without protecting them from the consequences. The point is not to destroy them. The point is to stop helping them hide. A manipulator becomes most confident when they think you are still emotionally available to be moved around. They assume your silence means confusion, fear, or weakness. But silence can also mean you are collecting enough clarity to make one clean decision. And that is what makes it dangerous. You are no longer trying to win the argument. You are trying to understand the person so clearly that they cannot keep using the same method on you. The mistake most people make is that they want the manipulator to admit what they are doing. They want a confession, an apology, or some clean moment where the truth becomes obvious to everyone. But manipulators rarely give you that. They survive by keeping things unclear. So instead of waiting for them to confess, you watch how much confusion follows them everywhere they go. This is where you stop listening to the story and start watching the trail. Every manipulator leaves one, people feeling guilty after dealing with them. Conversations becoming twisted after they enter them. Others feeling responsible for emotions that were never theirs to carry. When you stop focusing on their performance and start watching the effect they have on people, the truth becomes much harder for them to hide. Another useful thing to notice is how a manipulator reacts when you stop feeding the old pattern. If they were used to your explanations, they become irritated when you become brief. If they were used to your guilt, they become louder when you become calm. If they were used to your fear of conflict, they become confused when you no longer rush to repair the tension. Their reaction to your restraint shows you what they were depending on. This is also why you should never confuse patience with passivity. Passivity means you are doing nothing because you feel powerless. Patience means you are doing nothing visible because you are choosing the right moment. There is a difference. A manipulator wants you to act before you can see the full shape of the situation. They want you rushed, emotional, and easy to frame. But when you slow down, you take away one of their strongest weapons, which is your urgency. A manipulator loses strength when you stop needing them to see you fairly. That need is often what keeps people trapped. You keep explaining because you want them to understand. You keep defending yourself because you want them to stop misrepresenting you. But some people do not misunderstand you by accident. They misunderstand you because it gives them control over the conversation. Once you accept that, you stop wasting energy trying to be fairly seen by someone who benefits from seeing you incorrectly. The moment you stop chasing their version of fairness, the entire game changes. You no longer argue with every accusation. You no longer correct every false impression. You no longer panic when they twist your silence into something else. You simply observe who believes them quickly, who stays neutral, and who quietly benefits from the confusion. A manipulator does not only reveal themselves, they also reveal the people around them. At this point, you begin using distance as information. You pull back slightly and watch who respects it. You stop offering easy access and watch who becomes offended by it. You stop reacting the way you normally react and watch who tries harder to provoke you. This is not about playing games. It is about seeing who only knows how to deal with you when they can control your emotions. The quiet advantage here is that you become less predictable. A manipulator depends on emotional repetition. They need to know that if they blame you, you will defend yourself. If they withdraw affection, you will chase. If they create confusion, you will try to fix it. But when your reactions change, their control weakens. They start reaching for buttons that no longer work, and for the first time, they have to face you without the old access to your emotions. Comment control if you have ever noticed how confused people become when their old methods stop working on you. The most controlled move is not to make them afraid of your anger. It is to make them unable to predict your access. when they no longer know what you will explain, tolerate, answer, reveal, or emotionally carry, they lose the map they were using to move through you. This is why silence works so well against manipulation. It does not announce resistance. It quietly removes the pathways they were using to reach you. You do not outplay a manipulator by becoming louder than them. You outplay them by becoming less available to their methods. This is a quiet shift, but it changes everything. They may still try the same guilt, the same pressure, the same confusion, the same emotional bait, but you are no longer entering the trap as the same person. You are watching the trap while they are still expecting you to step into it. This is where manipulation starts losing its emotional hold over you. Not because the other person suddenly becomes honest, but because you stop helping their dishonesty work. You stop filling the silence for them. You stop softening the consequences of their behavior. You stop carrying the emotional discomfort they created. And once you stop protecting a manipulator from the truth of their own pattern, they usually reveal more than you ever could have forced them to admit. If this is making you see silence, restraint, and manipulation differently, stay close to this channel. These are the patterns most people experience, but rarely know how to explain. The strategic insight is simple. When you are dealing with someone manipulative, your first goal is not to punish them. It is to stop being useful to their control. That means your calmness must become more important than being understood. Your privacy must become more important than being liked, and your timing must become more important than your impulse to respond. A manipulator is strongest when they can pull you into their rhythm. They become weaker when you force them to move without your emotional cooperation. If you have ever felt drained from explaining yourself to someone who keeps twisting your words, you should read my free ebook, The Art of Strategic Indifference. It goes deeper into silence, emotional control, restraint, manipulation, boundaries, and why calm distance can protect you from people who feed on your reactions. The ebook is free, created only for viewers of this channel, and the link is in the description. The safest thing you can do is become difficult to move, not cruel, not cold, just no longer easy to pull in every direction. You listen without giving away your fear. You respond without giving away your frustration. You step back without announcing your plan. And while they are busy trying to figure out why their old methods are not working anymore, you are already outside the game they thought they controlled. A quiet mistake people make is thinking they must keep the manipulator close in order to watch them. You do not. Distance often shows more than closeness. When you step back, they either respect your space or they expose their need to regain control. They may become charming, offended, dramatic, cold, or suddenly kind. Do not rush to label it. Just notice what your absence brings out of them. You also need to understand when to disappear without making it look like punishment. Some people only respect distance when it is dramatic, emotional, or loud. But that kind of distance still feeds them because it proves they reached you. The cleaner move is quiet withdrawal. Less access, less explanation, less emotional supply. You let your absence become steady, not theatrical, because manipulators know how to fight drama, but they struggle against calm decisions they cannot reverse. There will come a point where you no longer feel the need to prove what they are doing. You will simply know. Their tone, their timing, their sudden innocence, their careful confusion, their need to make you doubt your own memory. It all starts looking less mysterious and more predictable. And when a manipulator becomes predictable, they lose the strongest part of their power because manipulation depends on you staying unsure long enough to keep participating. The final stage is not about winning their respect. It is about recovering your clarity. A manipulator may never admit what they did, and they may never see themselves honestly. But that no longer has to control you. Once you have seen the pattern clearly, the decision becomes quieter. You do not need one more argument, one more explanation, or one more chance to be understood. You only need enough awareness to stop entering the same trap with the same hope. And this is the part that makes silence powerful. It gives you time to separate what you feel from what is actually happening. A manipulator wants those two things mixed together, because when your emotions are loud, your judgment becomes easier to bend. But when you stay quiet long enough, the noise settles. You begin to see the pattern without needing permission to trust what you see. This is where striking last becomes different from reacting late. Reacting late means you waited because you were confused, scared, or hoping the situation would fix itself. Striking last means you waited because you were watching, learning, and removing their control piece by piece. By the time you finally move, you are not trying to convince them anymore. You are acting from clarity, and that is much harder to manipulate. By now, you should understand why confronting a manipulator too early often protects them more than it protects you. It lets them rewrite the story before their pattern becomes visible. It gives them a chance to prepare, deny, accuse, or turn your reaction into the main issue. But when you stay silent, watch closely, and move only when you understand the full pattern, you stop playing inside their confusion. You become calm enough to see them clearly, patient enough to let them expose themselves, and controlled enough to leave the game without asking them to admit they were playing it. This is also where you stop confusing silence with weakness. Weak silence is when you stay quiet because you are afraid to act. Strategic silence is when you stay quiet because acting too soon would make you easier to read. You let the manipulator believe they still understand you while you quietly change your position. You stop giving them the reactions they expect, the explanations they use, and the emotional access they depend on. And by the time they realize something has changed, they are no longer dealing with the version of you they knew how to control. The more you practice this, the less attractive confrontation starts to look. Not because you avoid truth, but because you understand that truth does not always need to be announced immediately. Sometimes the truth becomes stronger when you let behavior continue long enough to reveal its shape. A manipulator wants to control the timing, the framing, and the emotion of the situation. But when you refuse to move on their schedule, you take back something they quietly depend on. You take back control over when the truth matters. The strongest position against a manipulator is calm distance with complete awareness. You do not need to hate them. You do not need to warn them. You do not need to make them fear you. You only need to stop being the version of yourself their methods were designed to control. Once that version is gone, their power over you begins to disappear with it. The final lesson is that manipulation only works when you keep reacting inside the world the manipulator created for you. They give you guilt, confusion, pressure, and false urgency, then wait for you to move exactly where they expect. But when you become silent enough to observe, patient enough to wait, and detached enough to strike only from clarity, you stop being easy to lead. You no longer warn them that you see the game. You simply stop playing your old role inside it. And in the end, this is what makes the quiet person dangerous to a manipulator. They are not trying to win every exchange. They are not trying to look powerful in the moment. They are watching long enough to understand the pattern, moving only when the timing is clean, and leaving the manipulator with nothing left to use. Because the person who cannot provoke you, confuse you, rush you, or make you explain yourself, has already lost access to the weakest parts of you. If this video helped you understand why silence, patience, and emotional control are stronger against manipulators than direct confrontation, let me know in the comments which part felt most true to your own experience. And if you want to go deeper into the psychology of restraint, manipulation, silence, emotional control, boundaries, power dynamics, and why certain people lose access to you once you stop reacting, read my free ebook, The Art of Strategic Indifference. It is free and created only for viewers of this channel. The link is in the description. And if you want the more private material that is not structured for public platforms, the darker psychological observations around human behavior, hidden motives, social control, manipulation, emotional detachment, and strategic silence that I only share with viewers who want to go beyond ordinary content. The Patreon is also linked below, like this video, if it gave you clarity. Share it with someone who needs to stop reacting to manipulators. Subscribe if you want more calm psychological breakdowns like this, and watch the next video because it continues this same hidden pattern from another angle.